Welcome to today's Coaster Hour interview, where I'm going to be talking with and asking questions to Niels Jørgen Jensen, who is the CEO of Fårup Sommerland. Before we get into this interview, if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Sure thing. My name is Niels Jørgen, and as you said, I'm the CEO in Fårup Sommerland, park based in Denmark. And actually, I've almost been born into this business. I've been working in the park, from I was very young, and started doing the dishes in the park, and then had different roles across the park, and then from 2014 through 2019, I was part of the team that built up and opened Lego house in Billund. So for that period, I've been part of the Lego company, which is a Danish company, famous Danish company. And as you see in the background, I brought a little bit from that time with me, with the Ferris wheel building in Lego behind me. So that's also an important part of my history. Besides, me been working in Fårup Sommerland for many years in total. Then I'm also a happy family father, so have two girls that also love to ride roller coasters, and we enjoy a lot also to come and visit other parks, and that's also important for me to get inspired on the fly, and also bring back something that we can utilize when we develop the experience in Fårup Sommerland. So that was a little bit about myself.
Awesome. It's really cool to hear that you have kind of brought all your different experiences from working your way up to get to your position at Fårup Sommerland, to what you did at Legoland, to the trips you take, going to other parks, whenever you can. It's really cool that you utilize that and try to kind of fit that in with what you can bring to Fårup Sommerland. That's absolutely fantastic. So my first set of questions we're going to do is going to be let's get to know you questions that kind of let us get to know you in the park a little more. A lot of my viewers are in the States, but I also have a few internationally. So they might not quite be as familiar with Fårup Sommerland. So my first question is, what is Fårup Sommerland, and what makes it different from the other parks in Denmark?
When you go to Fårup Sommerland, then you will notice there's a very special atmosphere where we use the forest we have surrounding the park as part of the theme, and that's very outspoken. And when I meet colleagues, I meet roller coaster fans or other people from the US, they often compare us to a park called Canobie. I haven't been myself yet, but I'm sure going to go someday, because that should be a reference on something that's comparable to Fårup. And then another distinct element about the Fårup experience is how we work with hospitality. It's really an embedded part of our park, and then how we approach towards the guests visiting, and it's super important for us to always deliver world-class hospitality, and we see it as just as important as adding new roller coasters and our entire portfolio of activities, that we really deliver a strong hospitality and a strong service in the park, because that's an important thing to convince our guests to come back again and again.
Awesome. And that's really cool to hear about the forest atmosphere, that you really try to keep that. I have heard from people who've been that really it's really cool how it feels like you are in the forest, and there's all these trees and everything. It's really cool. And Canobie, I haven't been there myself either, but I do know that's another place where it does have very much a forest vibe and feel. So that should be pretty interesting for you to go out there eventually and check that out for reference. That'll be pretty cool. but it's great to hear that. And then also great to hear that hospitality and service is at the forefront of your sort of what you're focusing on, because that's very important for parks. You can add all these new rides and stuff, but if you don't have good service, good hospitality, it might not matter. You really need to have those things together to give a great experience for everyone. So I really like that you went into that. My second question I have, and you did go into this a little bit, but how did you first get involved with Fårup Sommerland?
It was actually quite easy for me because at the time I was old enough to get a job. Then my two older brothers were already working in the park, so they kind of dragged me along, and that was how I became part of the Fårup team back in the early 90s. So yeah.
That's great. That's really cool that you got to do it at a pretty early age and it wasn't too difficult. So that's great to hear about that. My third question I have is about your position as CEO of Fårup Sommerland. So with that, what does a day in the job for you look like?
Well, it's very different from day to day, and also, depending on the time of the year. But first of all, I try really to be supportive to my team and help where we, might have bigger issues we need to solve, and take part in the dialogue and in the conversations, and drive a process towards a decision on different topics where we might struggle, or where we need more support. Then secondly, I also try to keep an outlook for the time to come. So always try to be ahead and think about planning in the park. Being 1, 2, 3 years ahead, and look into trends, look into good ideas, maybe from visits to other parks, and try to set a plan for the park and how we want to develop this park as to become a unique experience every time and year after year. So that's some of the ingredients. And then as a new thing, I'm also heading up as chairman of Visit Denmark. So taking care of the advertisement and the branding of Denmark as such. So that's a role also playing along with what we're doing in Fårup, but also, is about me taking on a greater responsibility for the entire tourism sector in Denmark. So that's some of the ingredients that is part of explaining how my day could look like.
That is also really cool that you went into that as well. So I mean, it's great to hear and really nice to hear that having support for your team, giving them a good atmosphere is one of the things you really focus on, but you also have a vision for the future and you see what's around just to see what you could bring in, and you're always looking toward the future. So that's good to hear about. My next segment of questions are going to be questions and topics from me. These are questions that are a little more specific, but we're going to go right into them. My first question is about the history of Fårup Sommerland, and that is, what is the history of Fårup Sommerland and how did the park begin?
The park was founded in 1975 as the first Sommerland actually in the world. It's a name around the type of park we have very much connected to Scandinavia. It was founded in 75, and back then it was horseback riding, it was sailing in boats, it was outdoor bowling, it was trampolines. So a lot of activities where you had to take part in the experience yourself. Where we see today, it's just as much about roller coasters and high-tech activities and attractions. So, but it's been a fun journey. In the first year, I think it was around 40,000 guests visiting the park, and this year, hopefully, we will exceed 700,000 guests in the park with the addition of Fønix to the park. So quite a journey that the park has been through the years.
Yeah, it sounds like just that's crazy that it started off more as like kind of activities, bowling, stuff on the water. And then over time, it's evolved into more of a theme park with roller coasters, a water park. It's just really crazy how it's evolved ever since its beginning. And in only 3 years, 50th anniversary, right? 75 to 25. So that's pretty cool. Can't wait to see what's in store for that. But that's awesome to hear about. So my next question I'm going to go into, this is looking toward this upcoming season. And it's a question about Fønix. And my question with that is, why did you decide to go with the type of coaster you did for Fønix? And what do you believe Fønix brings to the park?
Yeah, so Fønix is gonna be the first major ride, you could say, since 2013, where we opened our suspended coaster, Orkanen. And we felt for some time now that we needed to add something really spectacular to the park to try to get to the next level in terms of guests visiting the park. So we've really had an ambition to bring, the coaster level of the park up to a next level, and we definitely think we do that with this. So until now, the highest coaster is our boomerang coaster, going up to 24 meters, and now with Fønix we are up at 40 meters in height, and that's then becoming the highest coaster in Denmark, the highest and the fastest actually, and also if you count airtime, it's going to be the coaster in Scandinavia with the most airtime. So we really bring in a super strong coaster and, delivered by Vekoma with high quality. So we definitely hope for, and I think it's realistic that we will increase the guest numbers with 10-15% based on this investment.
Yeah, I think Fønix, it looks incredible. I know a lot of people, both in Denmark and around the world, are extremely excited for it. So it's awesome to see it come in. And I think this will be, I mean, I haven't been to the park, but I know for a lot of people, this probably will be potentially their favorite ride at the park, which you already have such a good ride collection. So that's saying a lot. And it's also great to hear that you were really looking for that like major standout coaster. That's something that a lot of us coaster and theme park fans and enthusiasts appreciate. So I really like you going into that. My next question is going to be going into the your relationship with Vekoma. I believe 4 out of the 8 coasters you have, counting Fønix, are manufactured by Vekoma, being the Mine Train, Orkanen, as you just mentioned, which I imagine was really successful because a lot of other parks around the world have built suspended coasters since then.
Yeah, it was actually the first one.
Yeah, it was, which that's crazy to think about. Saven, and then now you have Fønix. So how would you describe your relationship with Vekoma?
Obviously, it's a super strong relationship. I mean, they've been part of the success we've seen. The Mine Train was the first coaster in the park, and it was really, really a big thing back in 92 when we launched with the Mine Train, going into the era of building coasters. And then, like we talked about with Orkanen, that was also the beginning, of a successful portfolio with the suspended coasters, also for Vekoma. And then, in our opinion, they've just proven to be becoming even stronger over the years, Vekoma, and delivering all over the world and delivering high quality coasters. And I think the layout for Fønix is is really demonstrating what they can do and their capabilities. Now I mentioned some of the features before. Another feature is the stall loop, which is also going to be really spectacular. 2.5 seconds experience through the stall loop. Yeah, back to your question, strong relationship, good partnership, and yeah, a lot of faith towards each other in the partnership.
Yeah, I mean, Vekoma has really been delivering as of late on their own as a company. And then for your park, yeah, it looks like their coasters have been a great success. So I can definitely understand how you can have a strong relationship there. And it's just really exciting to see you guys once again work with them with a project like this. And that stall loop, we maybe we'll get to that a little later, like a little more into it, but that element looks absolutely amazing. Nothing like I've ever seen on any coaster. So that should be extremely exciting. But yeah, Vekoma, they are a fantastic manufacturer. So it's awesome that you have such a strong relationship with them. My next question is going to go into managing both the dry park and the water park aspects of Fårup Sommerland. So what is it like to manage both a dry theme park and a water park when it comes to taking care of them and adding new additions?
Well, it is actually a bit difficult because we have the water park, we have the main park in the amusement park, and then actually we also have our hotel. So 3 different, very important elements of our complete experience. And if you then also take into consideration that the water park is only operating 60, 70, 80 days per year, and some of those days are really cold, so not really attractive to people wanting to go to have a swim outside. So it is super difficult to distribute your focus across the different parts of the park. But I would say it that way, that it's still an important ambition and mission for us to maintain the Aquapark as Denmark's biggest aquapark and water park. So in that sense, we need to keep investing in that part of the park as well.
Great answer. And yeah, it's always interesting to me. Like there are some parks out there, but there's not all that many in the grand scheme of things that feature both an amusement park and a water park that are at least both same admission. So it's always interesting to me thinking about like, how do they kind of maintain their water park while also adding stuff to their dry park, but also making sure that, yes, they are investing in giving the water park the care and new additions that they need and make sense. So it's really cool that you went into that. I can imagine that's going to be pretty difficult, as you mentioned, but it seems like a challenge well worth pursuing. So I like that. My last question I have for this segment is, how have you adapted to the challenges that have come with the pandemic?
Now it's almost 2 years with the pandemic, and it's like to stay in the language we're talking, then it's been a roller coaster ride through the past 2 years. So 2020 was very difficult for us. We were down 1/3 of our guest base and had a lot of, really, really hard sequences during that year. And then luckily this last season, the 2021 season, we've been very successful in coming back, and we've had the 3rd best season ever in the history of the park in terms of guest numbers. And we also succeeded with trying something new out on different topics. We did a live festival as a new event, which was a huge success. So I would say we've learned a lot. We've learned to be agile, and we've learned not to be that afraid of trying something out, also if it's in the middle of the season. And I definitely think we come out stronger because we've been challenged in many ways during the pandemic, and I'm sure that's gonna make us even stronger on the longer term. it's also been hard, but it's been worth the struggle, as you can imagine, coming out with the third best result ever.
That is incredible. That's an incredible bounce back. Third best season in terms of visitor numbers for your park ever a year after 2020. That is insane. So yeah, that's a heck of a bounce back. And certainly I think, yeah, that challenge will make you stronger, and really anyone who's adapted stronger, because if you've gotten through that, you can probably pretty much get through anything. So that's just incredible. And like I said, third best season ever right afterwards. That is awesome. So really love hearing that. My next segment of questions, this is questions from the viewers. For those of you watching, before this happens, before the interview happens, I give you an opportunity to ask questions through YouTube community posts, Instagram, and Discord. So if you aren't following those yet, make sure to. But my first question comes from a viewer who is asking, when did planning and development begin for Fønix, and was it involved in a package deal with Saven by any chance?
Well, the dialogue around Fønix and the project as such, of course, started a long time ago. And, getting the idea and getting this special design in place has been an ongoing process for a long time. And it's been also, ongoing at the time where we decided to go with saven for the park. But it was not a package deal as such, but we already talked about the good cooperation with Vekoma, so it was obvious that their proposal was one of the proposals we looked at, and then we ended up deciding on that in the end.
That is, okay. So it wasn't a package deal necessarily, but it was kind of like around the same time. So that's nice to hear about. And your strong relationship with Vekoma. Yeah, you went into that earlier. Makes sense why you went with Vekoma for Fønix, and how that all worked out. So, and also I can understand why it would take a long time for that to get all planned out, because that's a huge addition. So really like that. My next question comes from Philippe-Minh Nguyen, who was wondering, were other coaster types heavily considered before choosing a Vekoma Looper for Fønix?
Yeah, that's usually also how we work. So this is the biggest investment by far for the park and in the park history. So it's important to be very convinced when you take a decision like this, that this is the right thing to do. And obviously we've looked into, and my at the time in the early process, I was working with the Lego company. So the CEO before me and the team and the owners have had a lot of considerations around what would be the right thing to add in Fårup as this next big thing. So definitely a lot of alternatives have been considered.
Yeah, I can understand that, because when you're looking into a big edition, like I said, a standout edition like that, you have to look at just pretty much all options on the table. So but I think looking at what you picked definitely looks like the right move. Fønix looks absolutely incredible, and Vekoma has been incredible as of late. So definitely think that yes, that was an awesome decision you went there. But it's always interesting to hear about if other things were considered with these big projects. So that's great. My third question comes from StamfordBridge, who was wondering, is there a conscious effort to preserve the trees and forest atmosphere that Fårup Sommerland has? I know you went into this earlier, but if you want to go more into it, here you go.
Yeah, it's very conscious, and it's very key whenever we make new additions to the park, or we maintain certain areas of the park, that we do what we can to preserve the forest and think about also other parts of the flowers and plants and stuff. It's really, really important, because it's part of our theming. And the funny thing is, if you went on site, the building site, and asked our contractor today or tomorrow morning, do you think Fårup cares about the trees? Then they would answer definitely, because we during building meetings, we've often talked about, oh, those 2 trees, they have to stay, because they can just we can just have them in there and squeeze them in. So it's super important, and that's as I said earlier, it's part of our theming in the park.
Yeah, I know. It's like that's a huge part of your park. It makes it stand out, and that's really cool. I really love a park that has like a cool and different atmosphere, and your forest atmosphere. Like just looking at pictures, hearing from what other people have said, it looks fantastic, and it's great that you take great care and pride in that atmosphere. So that's awesome. Love that you're working really hard at that. My fourth question is from Imperial Coasters, who was wondering, what inspired you to get a double loop water slide with Vandkanonen back in 2015?
It was during the time when I wasn't in the park, but I know the story that it was an attempt to really put in an iconic ride that would be both very thrilling and exciting to run, and also look at. Compared to our other activities, this is by far the most thrilling activity we have in the water park, and that's also part of building up the product and the portfolio we can sell with our marketing campaigns. And with this activity, we also target a bit older kids and teenagers, so that's also counting with this.
That's awesome. It was a little before your time, but yeah, that's great that you could go into that. And this water slide, I remember I had to look into it a little more because I was not quite as familiar, but I understand the double loop feature is pretty unique. So and especially at the time it was, so that's pretty awesome you were able to do that. And as you said, adding a new slide for teenagers, or the teenagers audience, that probably made sense. And so seems like that was a great addition for the water park back in 2015. My last question I have is from Proffessional.idiott on Instagram. He was wondering, do you have a favorite ride at Fårup Sommerland?
There's no doubt that it will be Fønix in some weeks from now. It's really putting Fårup at a whole new level, and every time I walk the site, it's just it's giving me goosebumps, and I look so much forward to ride it. So soon it's gonna be Fønix. But up until now, if we look at the park and my favorite rides, it would probably be our wooden coaster Falken and the suspended coaster Orkanen being my favorite rides in Fårup Sommerland.
Yeah, Falken and Orkanen look really fun, so I can definitely understand those. Those are great picks. That's awesome. And then Fønix, I can't even imagine seeing it getting built right now. That thing looks incredible. So that is super exciting. So that's awesome that you're also really looking forward to that as well. And I know a lot of people around the world are, so that's awesome. So at this point, we've gotten through all the questions. So if you have anything you want to talk about specifically that we didn't cover in the questions, you can talk about it now. So if you have anything, feel free to Talk about it.
Carrick, I hope I pronounce your name right. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, and I would love to continue the discussions on site if you someday come to the park, or some of your listeners come to Fårup Sommerland. We look very much forward to present it in April and forward. It's a big project, and as I mentioned, it's by far the biggest investment in the park history. So it's super exciting, and it's gonna be a landmark for tourists coming to Denmark. So yeah, exciting season ahead, and then fingers crossed that COVID will slowly or rapidly actually go away, so we can be able to travel more and go out and experience amusement parks all over the world. So yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with what you said about COVID. Just like it would be great if it was that was able to dissipate pretty quick, and that way we could all travel more. I definitely really want that to happen. But also it'll probably be a little bit before I get to Fårup, just being in the US and everything, but I definitely look forward to going there whenever I get the opportunity to. So really appreciate you saying that we could have some more discussions at some point. So that is very much appreciated. And I just wanted to say thank you so much, Niels, for coming on and taking the time to do this interview, because I know you have a pretty busy schedule. But it was just great to hear more about Fønix and about Fårup Sommerland as a whole, what you guys are all about doing over there. It was fantastic to hear about it. So before I wrap this up, are there any last things you want to say before I end this?
All good. It was a pleasure. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. And once again, thank you so much for coming on to do this. It was very much appreciated and awesome. For those of you watching this interview, if you could share this video on social media, that would be huge in growing this interview series, as I want to bring more people on who work within the amusement industry on for interviews. And sharing this video will help out a lot. If you have someone in mind you would like me to interview in the future, let me know in the comments down below as well. With all of that said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time here on Coaster Hour.